The baby was born today. I was there in the room, holding her hand, wiping her forehead, whispering things like, "You're doing great," and "just a little more." I stayed calm. I smiled. I even cried when the baby let out his first cry. Everyone thought it was because I was happy for her, my best friend since we were 12. But that wasn't why I cried. I cried because the second I saw that baby, I knew. He had my ex's eyes, same shape, same little crease below the left brow. It hit me so hard I felt the air leave my body, but I didn't say anything. I just swallowed it down like I always do. She named the baby Noah. Her husband David stood proudly at the edge of the bed, saying he'd never been so happy. He kissed her forehead and held the baby like he was the luckiest man alive. I almost felt bad for him, almost. When the nurse asked who I was, Claire looked at me and smiled. "She's not just a friend," she said. "She's family." I smiled back and nodded, but my hands were shaking. I hadn't seen my ex, Marcus, in 2 years. Not since he ghosted me without warning. Not since he walked out with no goodbye. Now here I was, watching his baby come into the world, with someone else, with my best friend, and she had no idea that I knew. But I wasn't going to tell her. Not yet. Not before I had a plan. Because I wasn't just going to walk away. I was going to stay. She just asked me to be the nanny. I said yes, without even thinking. The words just came out of my mouth before I could stop them. Claire looked so tired, her hair stuck to her forehead, her eyes still dazed from everything. She held my hand and said, "I trust you more than anyone. I want you here, with him, helping me." I smiled and nodded. "Of course," I said. "I'd love to." She cried again, and I held her while she leaned her head on my shoulder. Her husband was outside talking to the nurses, and for a moment, it was just the two of us. She didn't know what she had just asked. She had no idea that she was handing her baby over to the one person who could recognize him for what he truly was. After I left the hospital that night, I sat in my car for 20 minutes without moving. The hospital parking lot was nearly empty, just a few flickering lights and the sound of wind blowing across the hood. I stared out the window, heart racing, wondering what the hell I had just agreed to. Becoming a nanny to my best friend's baby should have been an honor. But this wasn't just any baby. This was my ex's child, and Claire didn't know, her husband didn't know, only I did. And now I was in the perfect position to do something with that truth. I wasn't sure what yet, but I knew one thing for sure. I was going to find out what really happened between Marcus and Claire. I was going to find out when, how, and why. Then, I was going to make sure neither of them forgot what they did. Not ever. The first time I held Noah, he was only 3 days old. Claire was home from the hospital, exhausted and overwhelmed. Her mother had stayed the first night but left early that morning. David had gone back to work. So it was just me and her in the quiet house, sunlight pouring through the kitchen window as she handed him to me with shaking hands. "He won't sleep unless I hold him," she whispered. "I don't know how moms do this." I took him gently and rocked him without saying a word. The moment he was in my arms, it all came rushing back, the smell of newborn skin, the soft weight of him, the way his eyes blinked like he was trying to figure out the world. And then I saw it again, that crease above his left eye, the same one Marcus had. I used to tease Marcus about it when we were together. "Your angry wrinkle," I'd call it, and he'd laugh. I felt my stomach twist. This wasn't just any baby. This wasn't some mistake. Marcus had been with Claire. I didn't know when or how, but it had happened. And she'd kept it quiet. She'd let another man raise his child, smiling through it like nothing was wrong. That meant she wasn't just innocent. She'd lied. She'd hidden this. I looked down at Noah. He was so peaceful, so quiet. I should have hated him, but I didn't. He didn't ask for any of this. He was just a baby. But Claire and Marcus had made their choices. Now I was going to make mine. And it started with staying close. Closer than ever. Claire was glowing in a way that made it hard to look at her. Not because she looked beautiful, though she did, but because she looked too happy. Like someone who had everything she ever wanted. A baby, a husband, a home, and now her best friend, me, to help her hold it all together. She doesn't know what I know. She thinks I'm just here out of love and loyalty. She doesn't know I'm watching her every move, listening to everything she says, looking for cracks in the story. And slowly, I'm starting to see them. She never talks about the early months of her pregnancy. When people ask when they found out, she always lets David answer. He says the usual things. She surprised me with a little onesie, or we were over the moon. But Claire always just smiles quietly, like there's something she's not saying. And the due date? I did the math. Noah came a little early, but not early enough to erase the timeline. Claire was pregnant just a couple of months after Marcus left me, just long enough for things to overlap. Today, she laughed while changing Noah's diaper and said, "He has David's ears." I had to bite my tongue not to correct her. David's ears are round and flat. Noah's are small and pointy, just like Marcus's. She says these things like she believes them. Maybe she's convinced herself they're true. Maybe she thinks if she says it enough, no one will question it. And maybe no one would, except for me. But I'm not just anyone. I'm the woman he left behind, and she's the woman who took what was mine. Claire left her phone on the counter while she went to shower. She never used to do that. Not before. The baby. But now she's tired all the time and careless. She trusts me. Really believes I'm here to help her. So when I saw the screen light up, I picked it up and opened the camera roll. It started out normal. Baby photos, diapers, bottles, a video of Noah hiccuping. But as I scrolled back further, the mood changed. There was one photo that made my breath catch. Claire, sitting in a parked car, wearing a black hoodie, no makeup. Her face was turned toward the window, but the angle of the photo made it clear someone else took it. Then I saw him, in another photo, blurry but obvious, Marcus. Standing outside a cafe, hands in his pockets, looking annoyed. The date was from 1.5 years ago, 4 months after he disappeared from my life. There were others, a close-up of a coffee. Cup with 2 straws, a picture of her hand in someone else's. No faces, but I didn't need them. I knew those hands. I knew that stupid watch he wore. I put the phone back before she came out of the shower, but I didn't stop shaking for a while. This wasn't some accident. She didn't just end up pregnant with his baby. They saw each other. They met. Up. She knew he was mine. She looked me in the face and still chose to sleep with him. Now she looks me in the face again and calls me Auntie. That's fine. I'll keep smiling. But I've got what I need now, and I'm just getting started. Claire keeps a box in her closet. I've seen her take it out once or twice, usually, when she thinks no one's around. She never opens it in front of people, not even David. She says it's full of old memories, photos from high school, letters, silly things. But today, while she was asleep on the couch, I opened it. I didn't feel guilty, not even a little. She was the one who broke something first. I was just picking up the pieces and studying them. The box smelled like old perfume and dust. On top were photos of us, me and Claire at prom, at the beach, in college. We looked so young, so stupid. I found old cards I had written her over the years, birthday notes and sleepover memories. I almost laughed. She'd kept everything I ever gave her. Like she was proud of what we had, but near the bottom, I found the truth. A folded piece of notebook paper, Claire's handwriting, a list of baby names with Noah circled. Underneath it was a sonogram printout, dated 9 months before. Noah was born. No note, just that black and white photo. Then, the real gut punch. A receipt. A hotel stay. One night. Marcus's name was on it. Same time as the sonogram. My fingers tightened around the paper. It was real. They had been together. And not just once. There was planning behind this. They had lied to me, carried on like nothing happened while I sat beside Claire, bringing her ice cream and hugging her through her pregnancy. She didn't just betray me. She erased me from her story. But I'm back in it now, and I'm going to write the ending myself. This morning, Claire asked if I could stay late to help with Noah. David had a dinner event, and she was feeling drained. I said yes, of course. That was the first lie of the day. The second came a little later, when she asked if I could check her phone for a grocery list she had typed in her notes. She handed it to me casually, not thinking twice. That's when I made my move. I scrolled through her messages, pretending to look for the note. My heart beat fast, but my hands stayed steady. I found a folder called Locked. I'd seen it before, but never had the time to try opening it. I clicked it. It asked for a passcode. I tried the baby's birthday. It worked. Inside were screenshots, messages between her and Marcus. Most were old, but a few were more recent. The most recent was dated just 3 months ago. It was short. He had messaged her at 2 a.m. and said, "Is he mine?" And she replied, "Don't ever message me again." So she had lied to him too. Or maybe she was scared. Maybe she thought if he knew, he'd come back. And I think that's what she was really afraid of. Not that David would find out, but that I would, because I would understand exactly what it meant. That night, I held Noah in the rocking chair and fed him his bottle while Claire sat half asleep on the couch. She looked peaceful, trusting, like I was just her best friend, helping her survive motherhood. She has no idea that I've already started pulling the threads loose. And she won't see it coming. I hadn't thought about Marcus in months. At least, not until Noah was born. After he left me, I tried to erase him, deleted the photos, blocked his number, swore I would never be that girl again, the one who cried for someone who didn't care. But now, his face is back. Every time I look at Noah, I see pieces of him. The thing is, Marcus wasn't just any ex. He was the first man I ever really trusted. We were together for almost 2 years. He made plans, talked about apartments, kids, a future. He met my family, took me home to his too. Then one morning, he just stopped answering. No text, no call. Just gone. I thought he might have been in an accident. I even called hospitals. Turns out he just moved cities, changed his job, changed his number, like I'd never been part of his life at all. And now I know why. Claire. She knew how bad it was when he disappeared. I cried in her bed for weeks. She brought me soup, took me on walks, listened to me replay every moment. And all that time, she had this secret. Maybe it didn't start until later. Maybe it did. It doesn't matter. What matters is that she knew what he meant to me, and she still let him touch her. I don't believe in accidents like this. I believe in choices. She chose him. He chose her. And I was the one left behind. But not anymore. Now I'm inside. Her home, holding her baby, and watching her life from the inside out. I'm not going to scream. I'm not going to break. I'm going to wait. And when the moment is right, I'll let it all fall. A week after I found those messages, I saw Marcus. It wasn't planned. I was walking back from the grocery store when I spotted him across the street. He looked the same, tall, lean, a little older around the eyes. He was standing outside a bar, talking to someone, laughing like nothing in the world could touch him. I froze. My hands tightened around the grocery bag handles. Part of me wanted to run across the street and scream at him. Ask him why he ghosted me, why he slept with Claire, why he disappeared like I didn't matter. But I didn't do any of that. I ducked behind a tree and waited until he left. Then I followed him. He walked 5 blocks to an apartment complex. Nothing fancy, just regular brick buildings with a rusty gate. I stood across the street and memorized the number. I don't know what I was looking for. Answers, maybe, or just a sign that he felt guilty. But all I saw was a man who had walked away and never looked back. He went inside, and I stood there for a long time. I wanted to knock, to make him look me in the face and explain. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I walked home and put Noah down for a nap. Then I made Claire tea and listened to her talk about how tired she was. I smiled the whole time, because now I knew where he was. And when the time comes, he'll know I never disappeared either. Claire and David threw a small dinner party for their anniversary. Just close friends, nothing fancy. I helped Claire with the food, held Noah while she got ready, made sure the candles were lit and the wine poured. I was the perfect friend, the perfect helper. The house was warm with laughter and soft music. People clinked glasses and complimented Claire on how quickly she had bounced back after having a baby. David beamed with pride, looking at her like she was a miracle. And Claire? She acted like everything in her life was perfect. But I watched her closely. I saw the way her eyes darted toward Noah every few minutes. The way her smile faltered whenever someone said, "He looks just like his dad." She would always glance at David, then quickly at me, like she was waiting to see if I noticed. I noticed everything. Later, while everyone was outside, I slipped into her bedroom and opened her closet again. The memory box was gone, moved, hidden. She knew someone had been in it. She was starting to get nervous. Good. I wanted her to feel that. I wanted her to feel what I felt when I found out the truth. That deep, cold fear that something was wrong. I wasn't just here to uncover what she did. I was here to make her live with it. And soon, she wouldn't be able to smile through it anymore. David is the kind of man who smiles at everything. He smiles when he talks about his job. Smiles when Claire forgets something. Smiles when Noah spits up on his shirt. I used to envy her for having someone like him. Now, I just feel sorry for him. He's raising a child that isn't his, and he doesn't even know it. He looks at Noah with so much love, so much pride. It almost makes me feel cruel. Almost. But then I remember all the times Claire looked me in the eyes and lied. I remember her sitting beside me on my couch, crying for me when Marcus left, all while carrying his child. David isn't the target of my revenge. Not yet. But he's a part of it now, whether he wants to be or not. Because when the truth comes out, and it will, it's going to shatter everything. And he deserves to know, eventually. I've started small. Subtle things. Mentioning how Noah's eyes are so unique. Asking Claire where Noah's nose comes from. It's not yours or David's, I say, pretending I don't already know. I watch her flinch every time. She's cracking, piece by piece. And I'm just getting started. It happened late at night. Claire couldn't sleep, and neither could I. Noah had been fussy, and we'd both been up for hours. We sat on the couch in silence while the baby finally slept. The house was dark except for the kitchen light. And then, she spoke. "I made a mistake," she whispered. I didn't say anything. I waited. It was a long time ago, before I found out I was pregnant. I didn't think it would happen. I didn't mean for it to mean anything. Still, I said nothing. She turned to me, her eyes red. You ever do something that you can't take back? Something that changes everything? I looked at her. Really looked. For a second, I thought she was about to tell me the truth. About Marcus. About Noah. But she didn't. She just cried. I held her like a good friend would. I rubbed her back and said it was okay. That everyone makes mistakes. But inside, I was boiling. Because she still didn't tell me. She was still lying. And that's how I knew. She didn't feel guilty enough. But I'd fix that. Soon. The idea came to me slowly, but once it landed in my mind, it stuck. I had watched enough shows and read enough stories to know that proof speaks louder than words. And if I wanted Claire to pay for what she did, I needed proof. Real, undeniable proof. Not pictures or receipts. DNA. It wasn't hard. Noah had been teething, and Claire left one of his pacifiers on the coffee table. I slipped it into a small bag and placed it deep inside my purse. I wiped the outside clean so it didn't look touched. That same day, I pulled a few hairs from Sal, Marcus's old hoodie. I still had it. Pathetic, I know. But now it served a new purpose. I mailed both items to a DNA testing service using a prepaid card and a fake name. I didn't need a full kit or paperwork, just a yes or no. I chose the fastest turnaround. Then I waited, each day feeling like an eternity. Claire chatted with me like nothing was wrong, and I smiled, holding the truth just beneath the surface. It wasn't just about catching her. It was about making her look me in the eye when she had no room left to lie. When the email finally came, I locked myself in my room and opened it on my laptop. 9% match. I stared at the screen for a long time. The numbers didn't shock me. I already knew the truth. But seeing it there, written in black and white, made it real in a way that hit harder than I expected. Now I had what I needed. Now she couldn't pretend anymore. The first thing I did after reading the results was print a copy. Then I made 2 more. I put one in the back of my closet, taped under a shoebox. I tucked another into the cover of a book in Claire's living room when no one was looking. The last one I kept in my wallet. I knew I couldn't just storm into the kitchen and wave the paper in her face. That would be too easy. Too quick. No, I wanted her to feel it first. The fear. The tension. The unraveling. I wanted her to wonder what I knew and when I'd say it. So I started dropping hints. Small things like pointing out how much Noah looked like someone I used to know. I'd ask if she ever ran into old friends from college. I even mentioned Marcus's name once, casually, just to watch her freeze for half a second before changing the subject. David didn't notice. He was always buried in work or too distracted by the baby's cries. But Claire noticed. Her hands would fidget when I spoke. She stopped leaving her phone around. She even double-checked the locks when we left the house. Good. That meant she was nervous. That meant she was thinking. And that meant the guilt was getting heavier. The truth was already in her house. And soon, I'd hand it to her. Like a gift she couldn't return. Claire bought a baby monitor with a camera. It was one of those new, fancy models that connected to your phone. She said it helped her sleep better, knowing she could see Noah without getting out of bed. But it helped me too, in ways she didn't expect. The camera picked up everything. Noah's cries, Claire's soft humming, the creak of the floorboards when she tiptoed in. But one night, after David had gone to sleep, I saw something different. Claire was in the nursery, holding Noah, whispering. The monitor didn't catch every word, but I heard enough. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, rocking him. "I never meant for this to happen. You were never supposed to be—" She stopped, wiped her eyes, and kissed the top of his head. Then, she added, "No one can ever know." I sat on the couch with the monitor in my hand, my stomach twisting. She wasn't just hiding it from David. she was hiding it from herself. Trying to pretend it didn't happen, that Marcus never existed, that Noah was just her miracle baby and not the result of betrayal. But lies don't disappear just because you whisper them into the dark. They grow. And now I had her voice caught, in that soft, grainy static, apologizing to the child she wasn't supposed to have. Claire's birthday came 2 weeks later. David planned a little party, balloons, cupcakes, and a slideshow on the TV of old pictures. Friends and family filled the house, laughing and hugging, sipping wine while I helped serve food. Claire looked radiant, holding Noah in her arms, pretending like everything was perfect. I almost laughed. The same woman who whispered secrets to her baby at night now stood under streamers, acting like the world adored her. I gave her a gift, a photo frame. Inside it was a generic stock photo of a mother and child, smiling. But taped behind the image, hidden in the back, was a folded copy of the DNA results. She wouldn't open it right away. She wouldn't notice until weeks later, when she finally decided to switch the photo out. But when she did, it would hit her like a brick to the chest. That night, as the guests left and Claire hugged me tight, she said, "You've always been like a sister to me. I don't know what I'd do without you." I hugged her back and said, "You'll always have me." And she will. At least until she opens that frame. I didn't mean to go back. I told myself I wouldn't. But one rainy afternoon, when Claire took Noah to a doctor's appointment and David was at work, I walked to Marcus's apartment building again. I stood across the street, heart pounding, just watching the door. After 30 minutes, he came out. He was wearing headphones, hood pulled up, like he didn't want to be seen. I followed him for 3 blocks until he stopped at a coffee shop. I waited outside until he came back out, then I stepped in front of him. He froze. "Hi," I said. His eyes widened. "You?" He didn't finish. I didn't give him the chance. "I know everything," I said. "About you and Claire. About the baby." He looked stunned, maybe even ashamed. But he didn't deny it. "You knew he was mine?" he asked quietly. I stared at him. "Did you?" He shook his head. "She told me not to come back, said it would ruin everything." That was all I needed. Now I knew Claire had shut him out on purpose. She wanted to keep the lie alive. She wanted to keep the life she built, the one she stole. And now that Marcus knew I knew, he was a risk. Which made things more interesting. After I confronted Marcus, I expected him to disappear again. But the next day, I got a message from a new number. It was him. He said he needed to talk, really talk. Not just a street corner exchange, but somewhere quiet. I agreed to meet him at a small park across town where no one we knew would see us. He showed up looking nervous, like he'd been rehearsing what to say but didn't know where to start. We sat on a bench, far from the playground, and let the silence hang for a while. Then he asked the question I'd been waiting for. "Why? Are you doing this?" he said. "Why not just let it go?" I told him the truth. Because I was the one who got left behind. I cried in her arms while she was carrying your baby. And now I change his diapers and sing him to sleep while you live your life like none of us exist. That's not fair. He looked down, rubbing his hands together. I didn't know she was pregnant. Not until later. When I tried to come back, she told me to stay away, said she was married, that the baby was David's. I believed her. I believed him. He sounded broken, but that didn't mean I was letting him off the hook. He ghosted me, lied, disappeared. Now he had a son and wasn't even fighting to be part of his life. "You should have fought harder," I said. He didn't argue. I left him there on that bench, staring into the trees, holding the weight of everything he'd ruined. He didn't try to stop me. He knew it wasn't his story to control anymore. It was mine. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. Claire wasn't herself. She moved slower, talked less, and kept looking over her shoulder like something was coming. I knew she'd found one of the DNA results, the one hidden behind the photo frame. She didn't say a word about it. Neither did I. But I saw the change. She watched Noah differently now. Less like a mother full of joy, more like a woman carrying a secret too heavy to hold. At night, she cried when she thought no one was listening. I sat in the next room, wide awake, listening to every muffled sob through the baby monitor. She'd started locking her phone and keeping her purse close. She knew something was happening, but she didn't know how much I knew. That was the beauty of it. She had no idea where the next blow would come from. This wasn't about yelling or throwing plates. This was about control. And right now, I had all of it. I met David for coffee one afternoon, just the two of us. Claire was out with her mom, and I offered to give him a break. He smiled like he always did, and thanked me for helping so much with the baby. We sat at a quiet table by the window and talked about work, sleep schedules, and baby formula. Then I asked him, carefully, if he ever thought Noah didn't look like him. He laughed, not suspicious at all. "He's still so young," he said. "Babies change a lot. Claire says he looks like her grandpa." I nodded. "Yeah, maybe." I sipped my coffee and waited a second before adding, "Has Claire ever mentioned Marcus to you?" He looked confused. "Who's Marcus?" That told me everything I needed to know. She never told him. Not even a name. Not even a story. So, I smiled and said, "No one. Just someone we used to know." I watched him take another sip, completely unaware of the storm coming. He trusted her completely. He trusted me too. That made me feel a little sick, but also powerful. I was the only one who knew the whole story, and I wasn't done telling it yet. Claire's mom came over to visit. She hadn't seen Noah in a few weeks and brought over gifts, tiny clothes, diapers, and a baby blanket she'd crocheted. She sat with Claire in the kitchen while I cleaned up toys in the living room, pretending not to listen. But I heard it. Claire's voice was sharp, whispering, "Someone knows." Her mom's voice was calm, too calm. "Who?" "I don't know. But someone's leaving things. Papers." There was a pause. Then her mom asked, "Do you think it's her?" My heart skipped. Her. Me. They knew. Claire didn't answer, but the silence said enough. "I told you this would come back," her mom said. "You should have told David." Claire whispered, "I can't. He'll leave." Her mom sighed. "Then you better fix it before someone else does." I walked into the kitchen like I hadn't heard a thing and asked if they wanted coffee. They smiled and said yes. But now I knew something else. I wasn't the only one who knew Claire's secret, and her own mother had helped her bury it. That night, Marcus called. I almost didn't answer, but something in me said to pick up. He sounded different, calmer, more focused. "I want to meet him," he said. "I want to see my son." I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just let him talk. "I'm not trying to cause problems," he said, "but I can't keep pretending he doesn't exist." I believed him, but I didn't trust him. Still, part of me thought maybe he deserved to see the child he helped create, the child Claire tried to erase from his life. "Let me think about it," I said. After we hung up, I sat in the dark with that decision sitting heavy in my chest. If I let Marcus meet Noah, it could blow everything up. But maybe that's what needed to happen. Maybe it was time to stop waiting. By now I knew what I had to do. No more hiding, no more subtle moves. I would bring it all to the surface. But it had to be perfect. No drama, no yelling, no chance for Claire to twist the truth. Just the facts, laid out where no one could run from them. I printed the DNA results again. I printed screenshots of Marcus's messages. I even printed a photo of Marcus, an old one, but one where he looked just like Noah. I put them all in an envelope and sealed it. Then I wrote a note to go with it. The truth about your son. Ask your wife who the father is. I signed it, a friend. And then I waited for the right moment to give it to David. One move left, and the game would be over. I kept the envelope hidden in my purse for 2 full days. I carried it with me everywhere, feeling its weight like a secret burning through fabric. Every time I looked at David, I thought about handing it over. But something always stopped me. His tired eyes, his kind smile, the way he kissed Noah on the forehead and called him buddy. It made my chest tighten. But then I'd look at Claire, the way she smiled too hard, held Noah like he was her shield, and avoided my eyes when things got quiet. And I'd remember why I had to do this. Because she lied to everyone. Because she took what wasn't hers. Because I stood next to her when she gave birth to my ex's baby and still had the nerve to ask me to help raise him. So on the 3rd night, after dinner, I slipped the envelope onto David's nightstand. Quietly. No drama, no confrontation. Just the truth, sitting there, waiting for him to find it. Then I went to my room and lay awake in the dark. He would open it. He would read the truth. And nothing would ever be the same again. The next morning was strange. David didn't come out of his room right away. Usually he'd be in the kitchen before anyone else making coffee, but not today. Claire noticed, but she didn't say anything. She just looked at me across the room, her eyes full of quiet suspicion. Then, David finally appeared. He looked pale, like he hadn't slept. He held the envelope in his hand, gripping it like it might bite him. He didn't speak to Claire. Not even a good morning. He just walked past both of us, picked up Noah, and held him for a long time. Claire tried to speak, but David cut her off. "We'll talk later." Then he turned and went into the nursery, closing the door behind him. I didn't smile. I didn't speak. I just watched Claire fall apart in front of me. She knew. She knew the truth had landed in his hands. And now, the silence wasn't protecting her anymore. That night, I heard shouting from their bedroom. It wasn't like the usual arguments over groceries or Noah's sleep schedule. This was deeper, raw. I sat on the stairs, just close enough to hear without being seen. David's voice was sharp, angry. "You lied to me for almost a year. About everything." Claire's voice cracked. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It was a mistake. I thought—" "You thought I wouldn't notice?" he said. "You thought I'd raise a child that isn't mine and just live like nothing happened?" Claire begged. I could hear her crying, stumbling over her words, trying to explain something that couldn't be explained. David didn't yell again after that. His voice just got quiet, tired. "I trusted you," he said. "You broke everything." Then the door opened, and I scrambled back to my room. I heard his footsteps on the stairs, heavy and slow. The nursery door creaked open. A few minutes. Later, it shut again. That night, the house didn't feel like a home anymore. It felt like a war zone after the bombs had dropped. David didn't speak to Claire the next morning. He packed a small bag and left before breakfast. Claire sat at the kitchen table, staring at her cold coffee, still in her robe. She looked like she hadn't slept, and I could see the red in her eyes from crying all night. She didn't ask me anything. She didn't accuse me. But I could feel it, the tension between us. She knew it was me. And I think, deep down, she knew she couldn't blame me for it. I did what she was too scared to do. I told the truth. Noah was quiet that day, too, like he could sense something had shifted in the air. I held him for most of the morning, rocking him slowly while Claire sat still, like a statue of guilt. The house was quiet, but it wasn't peaceful. It was the kind of quiet that comes when there's nothing left to say. 2 days passed before Claire finally said anything to me. We were alone in the kitchen. I was washing bottles. She stood by the sink, holding a dish towel in her hands like she was wringing out her guilt. "You did this," she said softly. "You wanted to ruin me." I didn't look at her. "No, you ruined yourself. I just stopped helping you lie. About it?" She didn't argue. She just stood there, breathing hard like she wanted to scream but didn't have the energy. "I never wanted to hurt you," she whispered. I turned to face her. "But you did. You hurt all of us." She looked like she wanted to cry again, but no tears came. Maybe she was finally empty. Maybe the lies had drained everything out of her. "I don't know what happens now," she said. "Neither do I replied. But I did know one thing. I wasn't going to be her secret keeper anymore. That night I packed my things. I told Claire I was leaving in the morning. She didn't try to stop me. She just sat on the couch holding Noah, who looked confused but calm, like he could feel something changing. I kissed Noah on the forehead before bed. "Be good," I whispered. "You didn't ask for any of this." Then I closed his door and walked to my room. I didn't sleep much. I kept thinking about all the late nights I'd rocked him to sleep, all the times I cleaned up his messes, all the lullabies I hummed while the woman who betrayed me watched from the hallway. It hurt. But it also felt like the end of a chapter I was never supposed to be in. The next morning, Claire helped me carry my bags to the car. We didn't hug. We didn't say goodbye. We just stood there in silence. Then I got in, turned the key, and drove away. It's been 3 months since I left Claire's house. I have a new apartment now, a small place with quiet neighbors and sunlight that comes through the windows in the morning. It's not perfect, but it's mine. Sometimes I still think about Noah, about how he smiled when I sang to him, about how he used to grab my finger with his whole hand. He didn't choose to be born into a lie. He was just a baby, an innocent one. I don't talk to Claire anymore. I don't talk to Marcus either. David sent me a thank you text once, just one line. "I wish I'd known sooner. Thank you." That was enough. The truth hurt a lot of people, but it also set me free. Now I'm focusing on me, my future, my peace. Because for too long I lived in someone else's mess, trying to be the one who fixed it. But now, I'm the one writing my own story. And it's finally mine.